Okay, a pretty quick video, or as quick as I can make it, on some expectations and some heads up advice. So, expectations. Remember, when you get clay from your teacher, do not sit there and play with it. All right, so if you just need to kind of quickly get it more into a ball shape, that's fine, but then leave it alone. Okay, that also means when you get your project out for the day, don't unwrap it and start poking and prodding it right away until you get instructions from your teacher. The more you touch it, the more you play with it, the more you roll it around on a table, the faster it loses moisture and the quicker you are going to have clay that is no longer useful or workable. So you're going to basically ruin the clay that you're given or hurt your sculpture. So don't play with it. Definitely do not flatten it out. Okay, don't make a tortilla, don't make a pancake. When you do that and then you have to like fold it back up, you are folding air pockets back into it. So if I was squishing this and flattening this out, and then I fold it, all right, I'm potentially folding air pockets into it, and I am basically hurting my project, all right? And it could potentially blow up later on, and if you've made something really awesome, you kind of ruined it right from the start before you even got going. Okay, don't do that. So leave your clay alone until you're going to do something functional with it. So you can tell that my clay has already started to crack, and that's because it's been sitting out here for a while, and I wasn't even playing with it. I was just ignoring it while I was doing a bunch of other demo stuff while I was basically doing nothing with it. I should have wrapped it up. So keep it in plastic and don't mess with it. Okay. At the end of class, you're responsible for cleaning up your stuff. So you always want to have a paper towel. You want to have it wet or you want to spray your table. And you are responsible for making sure that your stuff is clean. Okay, you don't want to use a rag. All right, and sorry about the shaky camera. And because we want the clay dust to go away, we don't want to keep it trapped in a rag and then have it dry out. We want it to be in the trash. And if you have any crappy, scrappy type stuff, I don't really have too much right here. I guess I have some over off camera. This stuff needs to go either in the recycling bucket or you can put it in your slip bucket. So make sure you sweep it into your hand or pick it up if it's big enough. And don't sweep it onto the floor, and don't just put it in your paper towel if it's big chunks, okay? So take all the clay and make sure it gets to where it's supposed to go, and wipe down your table thoroughly. Clay dust is not good for anybody, and we want to keep it minimized as much as possible. And even with keeping it minimized, the floor and the tables are going to have a layer of clay dust eventually, so let's try to keep it as minimized as possible. Okay, and your teacher will dismiss you with clean tables once everything is organized and good. So check your floor, check your table, make sure things are clean. You know how to do this. You've done this with me before, so you know what the expectations are. Okay, make sure you throw away the paper towels. They are not recyclable. All right, some advice. If you have a sculpture that is being a little bit flimsy, like the head of your sculpture is heavy and it's needing some support to stay up while it stiffens a little bit to get to leather hard. So this guy's head, he's pretty good. But if I was a little bit worried and I was going to need some support, grabbing some newspaper, I don't have any newspaper, but I have some tissue paper, and crumpling it up into a ball and putting it underneath whatever needs to be supported when you put it in your plastic bag overnight, okay, is a great way to support your projects or whatever pieces need to be supported while it is getting a little bit harder overnight. So just make sure it stays in the position on your shelf with the support underneath. So while it gets a little bit hard, which means it's going to stiffen up a little bit, and then the next day when you take your support off, I bet it will be just a little bit stronger and be able to hold the position that it is or that needs to be in. And if not, keep that support there while you're working as much as possible, store it again, and eventually it will harden enough in that position with that support in there. So newspaper is a great support. Okay, a couple tool bits of advice. The first couple days you won't have any tools other than a fettling knife, but in the following days you'll start to get a rib. Remember, ribs are really good for smoothing, but they're not great for smoothing really squishy clay. Like right now my clay is pretty wet and it's just kind of not working super great. But once your clay gets to be leather hard, these work a heck of a lot better. So when our clay starts to get leather hard, we'll start putting these out. So we'll get a rib. And once we start cutting off our lids, some of you might notice that your clay is a little bit thick on the inside, and we'll get out these ribbon tools, and these will be excellent for like removing some of those thick chunks of clay. And I will do that when I do the lid removal tutorial. So you might start seeing these out there. They are also good sometimes for kind of removing some extra bits of clay or smoothing. So you might see these there as well. They're just kind of nice little tools to play around with as well. But again, they work a little bit better when things are leather hard. So we'll keep these off to the side for a while. And lastly, the wooden tools, kind of the same idea. I really like these for getting into small areas or for smoothing. And again, basically all smoothing type techniques are better when it's a little bit more of a leather hard state rather than super squishy. So we kind of save these until you've worked for a day or two when things are a little bit stiffer. So not for the first day or two, but we'll start putting these tools out, tomorrow or the next day. So just wanted to show you that these tools will start coming out, but not quite yet. So just make sure you are cleaning up all your stuff. Recycle the clay that you're not using. If the clay is still really, really good, you just got it, you can put it in your plastic bag and save it for the next day. Feel free to do that. But if it is crappy, put it in the recycling bucket and we will pug it and you'll get clay the next time. If you had decent clay and you screwed up, or you got clay out of the good recycling bucket, and you need to wedge your clay. Now this clay is not all that great, but let's pretend it is. Remember wedging, okay, if it's a small amount, like less than a softball size, wedging you can do in your hands like you're packing a snowball, all right? So 30 seconds or so, and basically using percussion to kind of burst any little air pockets that might be inside. And this method should work for all of you guys because you really shouldn't be using more than like a softball size amount of clay. If you take clay at the high school and you are, using big amounts of clay, they'll teach you a different way of wedging, which is on a table, and it's basically almost like kneading bread. But for the amount we're using, this should suffice for just wedging. It's just basically slam wedging, which is what it's called. And it works totally fine. And if I cut this in half, I should likely not have any air pockets in here. And you can see there's no air pockets, so that's pretty good. Not too bad. All right, so wedge like this if you get clay from the good recycling bucket, not the crappy one. And if you decide that you screwed something up with brand spanking new clay, like you just started it and you went, oh gosh golly, that didn't work, and you squished the clay project that you were working, but you should wedge it again before you start using it. That's how you do it. Okay? Okay. That should be good to go for now, and we will do some of the lid techniques next time. All right.